Welcome back to Tough Love with Dr. John O'Connor. Today's guest, Rich Tuma, owner of Rich Tuma Fitness, owner of RTN Supplements, and Fitness GOAT. He's been in the industry for over 25 years, absolutely crushing it. Today, we're going to talk about, in our two-part series, about his fitness background, what makes him tick, and how he kills it in his industry. And also, in our second part of today's series, we're going to talk about the supplement company and what goes on to make it what it is and to deliver an amazing product that he has. Rich, welcome to Tough Love.
John, thank you so much for having me here.
So, Rich, we're going to open up today's podcast and talk about how you got into fitness at such an early age and what that looked like. So when was your first fitness competition?
My first fitness competition, I was 19 years old, and I wasn't big enough to do bodybuilding, and there was never a fitness contest like you see today, like Men's Physique. So I was looking in the magazines and I saw something called First Annual Mr. Fitness Contest. And I said, oh, this looks interesting. A guy built kind of like me in the advertisement. And I was curious, what do you have to do to be in this contest? So you had to send a picture in and a little letter about yourself. And I did that, and they accepted me. And I had to fly to Atlanta, Georgia at the World Congress Center. And there was about 30 guys or somewhere around then from all over the world. And it was kind of like Men's Physique, but they had a formal wear round and a swimwear round, and they were looking for like kind of a lean body, not a big bulky bodybuilder body.
Sure.
So I was, always an ectomorphic hard gainer. So for someone like me,
and how'd you do on that?
I came in fifth in that first contest, and I was happy with that. I mean, everyone wants to win. I was nervous. I was a shy kid, someone that couldn't read a book report in front of the classroom. So it was like skydiving if you're afraid of heights, to go out there and perform and put together something you didn't even know what you were doing. Like there was never a show to go by.
That's awesome. So, at that point, did you have a coach or mentor that kind of started you?
No, I didn't. I had no coach. There was no coaches then like there is today. The only thing I had was books and magazines, and I kind of had to self-learn at that point, and it was just a learning experience, that first show. Looking back at it, I was 19, and there was no diet to get into the show. It was just kind of staying the way I was, staying fit, and there was no peaking like there is in the later shows.
2 weeks out and how you change.
2 weeks out, water cycle, none of that kind of stuff at all. I just kind of looked the way you saw on the ad, and I try to stay that look and try to come up with some kind of routine. Like I had no idea what to do. It was a fitness routine. You had to show some sort of athleticism that some people did. Dancing, I wasn't a dancer, so that was out of the question. So I did some like weight stuff with bands. I had some Lifeline bands I brought in the hotel room. I kind of made up the routine the night before.
It's okay.
Honestly, it just kind of created, but it was good enough to come in fifth, And
I love it. So tell me this. Obviously, I've seen your fitness background when I was bioing you. It was impressive. What other sports brought you into the fitness competition? Like, were you into martial arts?
Yes. I started martial arts when I was 13. I started with Taekwondo, and I got a black belt in Taekwondo. And I did martial arts like all the way up until a few years ago. I did Muay Thai. I had a coach with Muay Thai, and I did Jeet Kune Do. It's Bruce Lee style. I studied that, and that's like a style of all different systems. We did Western style boxing. We did some Muay Thai in there. You could pick or choose the style you want.
I think that's like that Wing Chun, right?
Yeah, the Wing Chun, exactly. Yeah. That's where the defense comes from. I watched those guys.
It's amazing because I saw some of your pictures and you were remarkably fit in your prime, and you're in great shape now. But watching Bruce Lee and how powerful he was for the size he was.
That was an influencer for me to get into martial arts, was Bruce Lee. I mean, my influencers were the guys you saw in the movies in the 80s. I got Arnold Schwarzenegger for the bodybuilding, Jean-Claude Van Damme, martial arts. You got Bruce Lee, when I was a little kid watching the Saturday flicks with that. So, they all had good physiques, and that's what got me into training, is I wanted to look like them.
Awesome. So talk to me about, as that advanced, right? So you're a teenager at that point. What do you know? And this is your career, so it evolved.
Yeah.
Tell me about like that next 10 years of shows and how that, and honestly, if you went to almost one of the first ones, how it evolved from then to when you retired in that industry. You said in 2016 or
2016. Well, it's a big part of my life. My passion has always been fitness. Like I graduated high school, I knew I wanted to do something in it. I used to draw in high school pictures of what my gym was going to look like. I would work at gyms when I was 18 years old, 17 years old as a floor boy. And I said, oh, I like this, I like that. And I'd go visit different gyms and get different ideas. And, along that way, I wanted to look good. So the incentive to looking good was doing a show, because you're going against other people that want to be at that best level. And, every time you want to give up on yourself, you kind of like think, hey, someone else is not giving up on yourself. There's no better motivation than that. So I did 5 years in a row of fitness competitions with the WMBF. It's a natural organization, drug tested. And, I came in the top 10 maybe 3 times out of the 5. And the shows got bigger, the routines got better. And then around the last show, I needed a break from the competition because I was becoming a businessman. I started my own gym. I went from 19 to like 24 competing, and then I got into business, starting my own training studio into a gym, and then just becoming busy with my art, doing personal training and massage therapy. And then during that phase, I get married to a girl I met in the gym. We had a rule, no dating the members. I broke the rule, and I, married my wife.
There you go.
And, a couple years into the marriage, I don't know what happened, but like I had something in me to do another competition. I was like,
and how old were you then about?
I was 32. And I said, I want to do one more crack at this thing, at this Mr. Fitness thing. I thought the layoff gave me some time to build muscle. I was more mature. I thought I looked better at 32 than I did at 19 or 24 through those ages. I said, it was 2 months before the show, and it was in the back of my mind. I said to my wife, I think of doing this show. What do you think? She said, all right, you can do it. And she didn't know because she never really was married to me during the competition phase. And I just turned the gear up. When you compete, you go all in or not in. You can't go half in. My diet was on point. My training has always been on point. But the main thing when you compete is your diet. Your nutrition is got to be 100%. It's got to be like clean. And as the weeks went on, it got closer. I started looking tighter, more muscular, and I could see it. I visualized what I want to look that day at that stage. And I saw 2 weeks out, I said, I'm going to do pretty good at this show. I look better than I've ever looked. And then walking in, I had the belief that I was going to win this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not
straight smoke. You were
objective.
Ready.
It's a subjective sport. So I never knew who I was going against. The biggest flaw I made competing the first 5 years is I always looked at everybody else. I always stared at my competition, and they played head games.
Kind of psyched you out.
This show, I said, I'm not going to worry about anybody else. All I can control is me. I'm going to go in there knowing this is the best I've ever looked, and that's all I can do. And whatever happens, happens.
And so what was the outcome?
And
what
picture
happened?
And the outcome is I won a world championship. At 32 years old, I won the WMBF World Championship. I walk in the show, and I beat a 5-time world champion. And it was an amazing thing. I remember getting my name called for the top 3 finalists, and there were 10 guys, I think, and they were all good. And, the top 3 are these 3. And I was like, top 3, I never made past 5. So then they go 3rd place, 2nd place, and you get the last call. It's such a great feeling to be that last man standing. And, something you'll never forget. Anybody that competes and wins a show or something in importance, they'll never forget that show. So
amazing.
That was
Congratulations.
The first real win.
So let's talk about that personal training. Because I know you said that started really kind of evolving then.
Yeah.
How did that cycle into your success? Did you notice with bringing that back, did you use that as a vehicle to drive your business?
This personal training thing was always a passion of helping other people. Right away, when I started this, me and my dad got me into working out. That's the other thing. We joined a gym together, and he lost weight. And I knew right there, seeing his results and how it changed his life, hey, that's what I want to do. I want to change other people's lives. So when I had a gym, I had membership, I had juice bar, I had massage, and then I had it was Elite Fitness. That was the name of the first gym. And with the win, it gave attention because I also wrote for a few magazines called Natural Bodybuilding, Men's Exercise. So it drew attention to the gym, and it was bringing a few people in that heard about it through those sources. And then competitors, when you win a show, they want to be part of that success. They want to be coached or trained. Awesome. So then I started helping other competitors. I stopped competing, and then I started being a coach. At that point, I was never really a coach before that World Championship win. I was a trainer, So
it was 32 or whatever that was you won that. Was that your very last show?
That wasn't my last show. So after 32, I stopped with the Mr. Fitness stuff, and around 40 years old, this could be a whole different topic. Body started changing. It was just
absolutely. And we'll talk about that.
We can go into another topic about that soon, but to make a long story short, at 40 years old, I wanted another incentive. So because you turn 40, it's a milestone. So I was always one of goals. Mm-hmm. So like I said, no better goal than to compete, to raise the bar up. I said, I need more than just a photo shoot. I wanted a show. So I said, the Mr. Fitness was great. I won that. I accomplished that. What's next? The NPC is related to the IFBB. That's what I always looked up to. Frank Zane, Arnold Schwarzenegger, they're IFBB pros. I said, I can't do bodybuilding, but now they have men's physique with the board shorts. I said, that's the same look as Mr. Fitness. I was like, this is new. It was like only a year old at the time. And I was 40. I said, you know what? I said, let me try this thing. I can do this. And I did it. In my first year, I won my pro card.
Nice.
And it was, ecstatic, just like winning the Mr. Fitness contest. It took me about 4 shows. My second national show, I won my class, getting my pro card in the overall in Pittsburgh. So that was the last really huge accomplishment. I competed as a pro for another 4 years after it, to 2016. Cool.
And tell me about it. Is it super expensive in that space as far as the nutrition, the supplements, the food?
It is expensive. Like people that are on the outside looking in don't realize how much of an expense it is. It's not just entry fee. All the food, all the supplements, the travel. All that stuff adds up, and it could be a lot. For the women, it's even more. Women's bathing suits, bikinis are very expensive. Hair and makeup, tanning, all those things are revolving around the show. It's a lot of money. Yeah, it's definitely an expensive. I call it a hobby. It's an expensive hobby. Like guys like golf. It's you got to budget for it. You got to plan.
I hear you. So I love it. So you have used these milestones in your life as far as aging. To kind of repurpose and motivate yourself.
Yes.
Right. And it sounds like you're that nice guy with the quiet beast inside with regards to your clients and even yourself, that you're like, I need it. I need to chase it. And that's great, because I think that most people that are successful like to, set measurable goals.
Right.
And I think the one thing that I've learned, I was up grabbing supplements with you the other day, and I think it's absolutely huge. And I love your gym because it kind of brings it back to me. I've trained, whether it's professional basketball players or worked out myself all over the world. It's like, my wife knows if there's no gym, I'm not going. Like, don't book it. Right.
Yeah.
And I think when I'm hearing you and you're saying that message is like, I've always competed, but the reality is your clients were kind of right by your side going through it.
Right.
So I think there's something to be said, like for me as a healthcare provider, like when I'm hurt or I'm sore, I'm on my PEMF units, I'm on my lasers, I'm on the cryo stuff, I'm on all that equipment, much like, the supplements that you provide to your people that you produce, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the last decade in training and what that looks like. Have you been in the same location for a while, or have you bounced around?
The last 7 years I've been in the location I'm currently at.
Okay.
And before that I had a studio for 5 years, and I had a gym for 14, and a little studio before that. Mm-hmm. So I've been in the gym business for 30 years.
Awesome.
So I've been doing that there.
So tell me this, is it kind of word of mouth for you, or
word of mouth, referral? It's the best advertisement. I don't pay for ads anymore or anything like that for the fitness and personal training. It's usually someone referring, and I'll compensate any of my clients that refer me any business. It's
awesome.
The best form of advertisement.
I was saying, like I said, when I was up at the shop, I'm in, right?
Yeah.
So I turned 50 this year. Probably in the best shape I've been in the last 10 years. Easy,
you look great.
And, I laughed. I was like, I want to change it up, you know, and one of my good friends was working out with you, and I said, you know what? And I saw James Avery on there, definitely reaching out through Where Would You Podcast With You on site. I was laughing because I reached out to, one of my favorite people, Andrea from Industry Magazine, as far as we do a lot of our collabs together. And when I heard, somebody you work out with, I was laughing. I said, I'm dying to do a fitness, food, and what drives you, like what makes you compete to stay on top of your game. And whether that's being a chef, or that's being a fitness professional, or a supplement company owner, or a healthcare provider. Right. How do you stay hungry? What does that look like?
It's just something that's like, you're an athlete, you're goal driven. You have to have a purpose, and you'll give yourself small goals and big goals. So now that I'm not competing, it's a different goal. My goal is on my clients. Mm-hmm. When they win, I feel like I win.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I just had a person win a contest a couple weeks ago, and it felt like a win to me.
Sure.
So I put my heart into other things. Like my daughter's a soccer player. I kind of put my heart into her and her soccer. I put my heart into my business, growing it, and all the clients, even if they're not competitors, I want them to feel good and see results.
So now do you do both online training, like you send programs as
I do
well?
online training. Yeah.
So if guys are on location or they're
like
traveling.
People see me in the gym or the studio training. Like when I'm not there, I'm doing emails. I'm writing out emails to people that are doing that I can't see, that are outside the country.
Got it. Awesome.
Meal plans, workouts, things like that.
Very cool. So you actually do the food, the ideas for food prep.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's funny. I've kind of fallen in love with the food prep, and being a person that like, I struggle with change, right? Yeah. I like things the same way all the time, but I will say with food prep, it's probably the only thing that I chuckle with, that I have to change it, because when you're eating,
sometimes you get bored.
Yeah, I was super disciplined, and like literally I would have in the course of a day, salmon, turkey, steak, chicken.
Yep. 7
days a week. And, then all of a sudden it was, trying to follow that super clean diet with the sweet potato baked and getting it done. I started seeing myself going from 3 of those meals, and then my breakfast and this and that would go. It's like anything else.
Yeah.
I started looking at it, and it's like when you see the business start slipping, or the personal training or whatever it is, I go, it's amazing. For that, it's almost like clockwork. Right around, month or week 12, I started staring at that chicken like, I hate you.
Yes.
like it stole my cat,
At one time I was eating tuna out of the can, and I can't even touch tuna now because I'm like turned off because I had so much of it.
Yeah. I have to say, the funny thing you said that, and we're very close in age. When I first started lifting, I just quit, stopped playing basketball at Pace University, and I was trying to get in shape, and being far from home and having a time mom, she was out of panic that she couldn't feed me every day, and I was eating so clean that I couldn't really have like pallets of eggs like I was eating.
Right.
So we were buying the huge Starkist or whatever cans of fancy white albacore.
Right.
I would drain it, put some white vinegar in there, and just eat it out of the can. And I would look at it now, I'm like, oh, how did you do that? So I get it,
Right. If you go back to trying to do it, I guarantee you're going to hate it.
Yeah, not as easy the first time around.
Memory back. Yeah.
One thing I want to ask you is, obviously you went through COVID. It wasn't that long ago with the fitness.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about, because what's Tough Love Podcast about? Just so you know, there's always that adversity part.
Right.
Right. And, I love looking at people's stuff, being a healthcare provider, and then my own personal stuff. I was paralyzed. I fractured my skull. I fractured my spine. I had my knee rebuilt, stomach surgery. And, I've had so many things that when I saw when we came in contact, I saw heart attack survivor.
Yes.
And I saw hip replacement. And I like that you wear those badges where you're like, you put it out there. And, tell me about, for a person that is as fit, as lean as you, did you get caught off guard with the heart attack? Like, how'd that happen to me?
Absolutely. I mean, it's something you can't see. Like, you feel like a certain way. And I'm always one that pushed through things. If you're a little tired, no matter what, I'm pushing through it. I'll figure a way around it, over through. You're an athlete. You hit a wall, you figure a way around that wall, over it, or through that wall. So that time, I always advocated going to the doctor. I have a history of heart stuff in my family. I knew that. I've always had high cholesterol since I was like in my 20s. Wasn't taking any medications. There's always that side effect thing. So my cholesterol was in the 2s. And a month before the heart attack, I go to my regular doctor, and I wanted an ultrasound. Did the ultrasound, passed it. EKG, passed it. Had an episode where I had dehydration once, and I collapsed. They saw nothing on the EKG. They saw nothing in the blood work. So all the testing I ever done before the heart attack, there was never a worry of anything. So this is February 13th, 2017. Go to work that weekend. I felt a tight chest, and I did chest like prior to that weekend. I said, man, what a workout. I can't breathe. I'm like really tight. So I was just like thinking it was from that. And something instinctively told me to pop aspirin. I wasn't feeling 100%. So I was popping some of these aspirins, and I was feeling very tired and lethargic mentally. I go to work on that Monday. I think it was Monday the 13th. And I said, maybe if I work out, I'll feel better. Sometimes you do that. You get blood flowing. It gets you through stuff.
Right.
So I do legs that day. And it was the time I was training pretty heavy legs. I didn't have any leg injuries. I had 315 on doing deep squats. And then on my last set, I put it down. The room was spinning. I felt like sick. I felt dizzy, lightheaded, ears are ringing. I was like, I'm going to go to the doctor. I called my wife up. I said, you know what? I'm going to leave and go to the doctor to get looked at. So I went to a Medi-Merge. It was in Clark. And it was the day before Valentine's Day, packed room. I admitted myself in and told the woman my symptoms: shortness of breath, tight chest. They made me right in front of everybody waiting there. EKG comes out, I'm sorry, but you have to go to the hospital right away. And I didn't know what they were talking about. I'm like, is everything okay? No, you're having a heart attack. Take this 325 milligram aspirin, chew it, and swallow it. And they gave me like one or two of them, I don't remember. And at the meantime, I'm like thinking, are you sure? Are you sure I'm having a heart attack? I really don't think I'm having a heart attack.
I mean, as a healthcare provider, I'm having a panic attack for you. I'm a guy
that takes care of myself, eats right. I thought I was invincible. I didn't think this could happen to me. I said, are you sure this is happening? So I go to the hospital like overnight. Just like that, I'm in the emergency room. They shave my groin. They do catheterization. And in like minutes, it seemed like they saw 3 arteries 100% blocked. And I said, I felt so helpless. I'm like a guy that likes to be in the control. I like to be the quarterback, passing the ball. This time I couldn't do anything. I just had to lay there and pray to God that the guy's going to do the right job, that he's going to put the stents in right, clean my arteries. And he was very relaxed, this guy, and he was showing me on the screen. I was awake during this. My arteries, they were blocked, and he shows the plaque coming out. I'm like thinking, how did this happen? How did this take place? I'm like, I just was at the doctor, and he said my ultrasound was fine. And I laid in the ICU for a day and stayed in the hospital for weeks, 6 weeks off of work. I had to recover. It was a good-sized heart attack with the 3 arteries blocked, the widowmaker. So, thank God I'm here talking to you right now. And
absolutely.
Having the experiences I had for the last 7 years.
How has that changed? It's much like healthcare, right? Our patients, our clients age with us. Do you find yourself being more of a advocate in promoting like cardiac health?
Yeah, I put on this earth for a reason. I'm here for a reason. So would I stress for anybody with a family history of heart disease, or even somebody over 40 if I could do some things over again, I would just saw a cardiologist and did a nuclear stress test. At least if they saw blockages over 70%, they would have gave me catheterization, but I never saw one. And I just was more concerned about the way I looked. And, the medications that I use right now, thank God for them, I don't want to take them, but unfortunately I have the genetic thing. That's what's caused it.
The plaquing is part of the genetic predisposition.
Yep. Exactly.
Amazing story. And, it's always compelling when you hear people, talk about, facing adversity. Here you are, you would do exactly what I would do, right?
Yeah.
You're like, all right, I feel a little crappy. Let's throw some Advil in the tank and suck it up and go.
Yep.
After that, how was the fear factor as far as getting back in and getting under some weight?
So looking back at it, I was out of my comfort zone. I was out of the gym. I've lived in the gym practically my whole life. So I'm home resting. I'm thinking, thank God I'm here. Thank God I'm for my family. And I still wanted to work out. And I had to go through cardiac rehab, and it was very non-challenging. Yeah. On a treadmill at 2.8 miles an hour. And before I went, I was walking around neighborhood up hills. I said, are you sure I have to do it like this? And this is our code. So I just wanted to go for peace of mind, because I didn't have that. Right away, I was very scared. Like anytime I felt a little something, I ran to the doctor. So sure. I wanted assurance that it was okay, and it was like testing the waters a little at a time. So when I went back in, I just go very light. And they say muscle has memory, which it does have. And I did come back. I think it was about 3 months after the heart attack.
You felt like you
into
weren't
gym.
scared.
I had the heart attack in February, so like May, I started training with Bill again, and we, in a matter of a few months, I started looking close to the way I was.
Awesome, love that.
Started coming back.
And when you say Bill, we're talking about Bill Grant?
Yeah, Bill Grant. He's my training partner. He was a competitive bodybuilder, bodybuilding Hall of Famer. Known Bill for 20 years. We've been training for about 10.
Nice.
And we're both motivating each other. He's also a survivor too, like not of a heart attack, but of other things.
Yeah, he's been through it. I've met him a couple times.
Yep,
wonderful guy.
Exactly.
So then from there, the hip came into play.
Yep.
And so you had your hip replaced too.
So
you're
the hip
getting to be
replacement.
bionic.
During COVID, I started experiencing, like when the COVID first happened in 2020, hip pain. I thought it was pulled muscle. I didn't know what it was. I had massages on it, stretching it, trying all the home therapies, but nothing was working. I thought, like, I want an MRI. I want to see what's going on. I couldn't get one because all the facilities were closed. So it just wasn't getting any better, and it hurt to walk. I'm like, what's going on? As soon as the facilities opened, I got it, and I was bone on bone.
Got it.
And I was like, how did this happen? I was a Muay Thai and a martial artist using my right leg, my dominant leg mostly. So I think a lot of the jarring with that and the things as an athlete over time cause a lot of wear and tear. It's like putting miles on the car. You know, we
100%.
beat the car up a bit. You know, you've had injuries too, and I've torn my pec and other things. But we keep moving, you know, and I was like, what do I have to do now? I mean, I looked into PRP. That doesn't work, bone on bone. I said, well, the next option is either doing a full replacement or a partial one. I want something that lasts, so I went with a full one.
Nice. I have to say, it's funny when, you know, some parallels, obviously going through the injuries with the arthritides that I've run into. I found that certain things, surgery wasn't the best way. And we started kind of looking in the international realm because it's, you know, healthcare is driven different over there, right?
Yeah.
They don't have, you know, the distractions of healthcare, of the healthcare insurances, right?
Right.
And it's governmental. And then you have people that either are paying themselves for a different tier and quality of healthcare, and then what's provided by what the government compensates.
Right.
When we started attending, sponsoring, and now I work for these companies, I was blown away with your plasma pulse wave or your shockwave therapies and, you know, pulse electromagnetic field and the class 4 laser that I use with MedRay Laser and Technologies, and of course cryotherapy. The amazing level of relief I got. And, you know, when we brought to the public and to our patients, that's what I was telling you, we were talking about Bill when I came up there to see your studio. I said, I was like, you know, you got to see our technology.
Yeah.
And we take frozen shoulders and can release a frozen shoulder in 2 or 3 visits. And there's probably nothing better, you know, in our space, much like you said, when your competitor or your client won,
right.
It was like you were on stage and you won, right?
Right, correct.
And there's nothing better that if you come in my clinic and I'm working on you and we do the post-treatment video, and I'm pretty tall, so I'm standing behind you and I'm kind of looking over your shoulder and watching the video, and I see you go, holy crap, I can't believe how well I'm moving.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I try to tell people, I'm like, hey, listen, I want to be that, you know, NASCAR pit crew guy that you come in because we have amazing technology, and not make it a 3-month mentally draining, mentally fatiguing, frustrating injury. I want to give you hope right back.
Right.
And when you can do that, it's no different than getting back in the gym with, you know, with Bill after a heart attack or anything like that, because then you feel your fire, right?
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, it's like you've always been fitness based. Like when that heart attack came, you were almost like shocked.
Yeah.
You know, like you're like, how dare you?
Right.
I've been fit my whole life. I'm a
right.
1%.
You want to race your car and there's a part that's not letting you do that. You know, the engine's not working right.
So love it. Absolutely love it.
The wheel's not working with the hip, you know, like the axle.
So you had the hip replacement, and now activity wise now, still squatting, any restrictions? Tell people out there that are like in and around our age that you have this joint. How are you doing with it?
I'm doing well with it. I'm still doing my therapy on it. You got to, as you get older, you have to do restoration. You know, restoration is important in actual workout. The warming up, the weight selection is lighter than it was when I was younger. I don't go maxing anymore. I have no ego anymore. It's out the door. My PR thing is gone. Like I do more volume now, more supersetting. That's the way I train most of the days, like very high reps, supersets. I kind of just want to look good these days. I have nothing to prove to anybody with how much I can bench or anything like that. That's what caused my pec tear. You know, it was such an ego boost to see your bench number going up. And as an athlete, it's a rewarding thing. And when I tore it, it hurt. And, you know, it was a scary thing. I wanted to get back to benching, but then I just, every time I pushed it past a certain thing, and there's probably things I could have done to prevent it, but you make mistakes. You know, I've made a lot of mistakes. We all do, you know, like my training as a young, I had no guidance. I had no coach.
Reckless, get
I
results.
had to read
Absolutely.
magazines and follow individuals. And now I try to teach people what not to do from what my mistakes were.
I have to tell you, as a healthcare practitioner and having as many injuries as I've had, I feel like that is probably one of my best anecdotal or my doctor-patient relationship things that I can relate to them.
Yeah.
When I was on a continuous passive motion machine, or, you know, we refer to as a CPM for 12 weeks, for 12 hours a day.
Right.
He was like the movie, Misery. And, you know, when you can commiserate with them, but then they see you that you've reclaimed your fitness. And, you know, going back to your point is, I tell them like, you know, I used to train Dr. Tardio, who's like my little brother, that runs our Red Bank location for chiropractic, was an elite college basketball player. And, you know, we've been around each other since we're kids. And we would be in the gym in our 30s. And at the time, he was like a big, probably, I don't know if it was Google back then, but he would search out these workout sites, and he found something called Jim Jones, and you would have loved it. Like if we were the three of us, you would have, back in the day, it was awesome. And so we're doing this superset, and it's a 315 dead, a 315 squat, a 315 step up to a 42-inch box jump.
Wow.
And we're basketball trainers, right? And so we're literally jumping through the gym, and every once in a while we would joke around and just jump right over the 42-inch box onto the other side, like, and lifting weights. And I remember laughing because after my knee surgery and, you know, tweaking my back over the years, I laughed. I said, you know, all the times those people would walk up and they literally thought we were military or training for something crazy. I probably should have been thinking then as Dr. O'Connor and not JOC or a crazy trainer.
Right.
I'm like, probably take the foot off the gas a little bit, you know.
Could have, should have, would have.
Yeah. And now, you know, I love the high rep. I love the workouts. I'll push, you know, I'll definitely pedal down like twice a month. I'll go heavy and really low.
Yep.
But I listen to my body way better now.
Yeah. As long as you connect the mind and body and know what you need.
Absolutely. Rich, loving your story today. So excited to get into part 2 of the supplements, lifestyle, and all that stuff.
Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much. Guys, Rich Tuma, absolute beast. On the podcast at the bottom today, we're going to share his fitness page. You can train with him online or remote or at his location. Absolute GOAT. I would tell you that actually I'm about to join him as a client, so I'm pretty excited for the next journey in my fitness chapter. But Rich, thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much, John.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today on our Tough Love podcast with our guest, Rich Tuma. Stay tuned for part 2, talking about RTN supplements, peptides, TRT replacement, and just nutritional optimization with the owner of RTN Supplements. Our sponsors for today's show are RTN Supplements, as well as MedRay Laser and Technology. We'll see you soon. And remember, the greatest gift you can give us with regards to the podcast is sharing it to your friends and doing a review. We'll see you soon.